Hello everyone, I'm Melissa and welcome back to today's video. Today is a little different. It's Christmas and I want to celebrate it in a way that feels true to me, which is religiously. I know this won't be for everyone and that's okay. No pressure to stay. But if you are here, I want to talk about Jesus. Historical Jesus. Real Jesus. I want to read to you some passages like this is a storybook, because for me, pieces of it are. This isn't a video for diehard Christmas fans, no pun intended, but it's for people who are curious about Jesus Christ and who want to know other people's perspectives, because in the end, this is all my opinion. Do not come after me. For me, when I think of Jesus, I don't immediately think of the Bible. I think about who he might have actually been. You don't have to believe in scripture to acknowledge that someone named Mary and Joseph had a son named Jesus. And without drifting too far into speculation, I want to talk about what might have happened that night, or at the very least how I view the story. So, let me tell you a story. A young woman named Miriam was to marry a man named Joseph. Before the wedding day, Miriam, or as we know her, Mary, found out she was pregnant. When Joseph found out, he wanted to leave her. Biblically, this is where God comes to him in a dream and explains that she's pregnant via immaculate conception and that he, God, is the father. If we take this out of context of the Bible, we don't actually know what happened or how Joseph found out or what his reactions were. We can only speculate from here. Did he assume his soon-to-be wife was cheating on him and decided to stay anyway? Did he always think it was his child? There are many questions we will never have the answer to, because this happened in 4 BCE, and there's no documentation. What we do know is that Mary and Joseph married. It's reported that they didn't consummate their marriage until after Jesus was born. The New Testament tells very little of Mary's early history. Mary was a first-century Jewish woman of Nazareth, and she didn't work. We don't know anything about her family or past, but we do know about Elizabeth, her sister. She was old and fell pregnant as well. Aside from this, her past is heavily rooted in religion and the Bible. We don't know much about historical Miriam. What we do know a lot about is Joseph, which is ironic because the Bible itself doesn't say much. History, however, speaks volumes. Without knowing his past, we know his family. He is related to Clopas, and she appears in documentation several times, enough to show up in the Bible without holding a very serious role. Joseph lived in Nazareth and Galilee, and as we mentioned earlier, was said to be wed to Miriam. During this time, he was a carpenter, though the original Greek word was tekton, which meant a more general craftsman or builder. It's also stated that it's unclear whether or not Jesus had any siblings, because it's said that Mary had sexual relations after Jesus was born. And knowing that birth control was not a thing, it's likely she did have more children. They just aren't mentioned, not documented. In the Bible, they mention James, Joseph, Simon, Judas, not that Judas by the way, and they're mentioned in Matthew 13:55 through 56, with 2 unnamed sisters, but nothing outside of the Bible. I'd kill to know Jesus' true family. I want historical documents detailing the family tree of Jesus that's historically accurate, including potential living relatives. I just know it would suck because people would end up idolizing them. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Star of Bethlehem. To be frank, it doesn't exist. It was a multitude of factors, as reported by Chinese astronomical and historical evidence. It is also proposed that a sequence of 3 astronomical events happened: a triple conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, the massing of 3 planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, and the comet that happened, titled the Star of Bethlehem Comet. This doesn't discount what happened, it just means their perception of what was happening wasn't quite correct. Then we move on to the 3 Magi, or the 3 wise men. There are many names for them, but these are the 2 I've heard of. The first man was a Persian king named Melchior, and he brought gold with him. Very fitting for our first king. And then we have Gaspar, an Indian king. He brought frankincense with him. That's how I learned at a young age that frankincense was from India. And third was Balthazar, a king from Africa. He brought myrrh, which is found in the Horn of Africa. Then we need to talk about Mary giving birth, obviously. I mean, we all know the story, and if not, listen up. Mary gave birth to Jesus in a stable in Bethlehem, with animals around them, and Joseph was there. They did this and laid the infant in a manger because there was no room at the inn they were staying at. On top of this, they were poor. They had no leverage. There is very little detail on how the labor went, but we do know the baby was healthy, and so was the mother. Some beliefs suggest that a miraculous, painless birth happened, contrasting with typical labor experiences. Of course, that is how religion goes sometimes. Back to the wise men. These 3 men had heard through prophecy of Jesus' arrival, and they started their quest down to Jesus. I know this is a very important part of the story, but it's also the part that bored me to pieces as a kid. So I'm going to compress everything by saying that these men suffered on their quest, and met many people along the way depending on which version you read. But they arrive in Bethlehem on camel's back 2 years later. 2 years! Can you believe? They never actually met infant Jesus, just 2-year-old Jesus. It's also reported that they met at a house, meaning that Mary and Joseph have stabilized long enough to get housing as well. No pun intended. Around this time, King Herod heard the news of Jesus and demanded that every infant aged 2 or under in the vicinity needed to be executed immediately, for hopes that one of them would be Jesus. Herod hated Jesus so much because he saw him as a direct threat to the throne, and as a power-hungry ruler, he would let nothing stand in his way. This was ultimately the beginning of Romans versus Jesus. And heck, he was 2. Crazy. Not very Christmas magic I was thinking of. And then we don't actually hear much about Jesus. They flee to Egypt, and there they stayed, it seems, because there's no reports. These are called the unknown years of Jesus, or the lost years. We know Jesus became a carpenter like his father and went on to continue his family traditions. It's roughly assumed that Jesus likely started working at age 12. Jesus' family was Jewish, and naturally around age 20 he went into studying his ministries. He connected with God, did religious acts and services, and became known in his community. Around age 30 is the Jesus we know now. This is kind of a testament, God, I cannot stop with these unintentional puns, but a testament to how we don't really start living until our 30s. Maybe that's just because I'm 24 now and I can't fathom that I'm an adult. Okay. Now, let's remember, we're talking about historical Jesus. Of course, religion will always be wrapped up in the end of the story, but you have to try and look at it as a story, like I said. Even stories can be a bit religious, without that being the main focus you take away. And I guess that's kind of the simplified story of Jesus before his rise in popularity. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this Christmas. I really hope you enjoyed. If you wanted a full Jesus deep dive, this wasn't the one. This is just about his birth. I got this really awesome book which gives a different perspective. It offers a more research perspective. It's called The Case for Christmas by Lee Strobel. I really liked it. It was my Christmas read of the month outside of the Advent calendar book, and I enjoyed it so much. I love the idea of reading the Bible as a storybook, or at least learning about the Bible as a storybook. Because if you take everything as real, then you might literally develop the worst complex and trauma ever, or I would, and so I'm like, I don't need that. I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna be happy and connect with God in my own way. And this is how I do it. This is what makes me happy. This is what makes me feel close to God. And so, that'll be that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want to see more. And I hope you'll stay tuned for my video next year. Oh my god. Me and my friends have been planning it for over a month. I'm so excited, guys. I love life. Tee. You can probably tell, but I am sick as fuck. I have the craziest cough, and I wanted to mention it at the end of the video because whenever anyone has a cold and they mention it at the start of the video, it's the only thing I can notice on the entire video, and it ruins it for me. So I'm just not gonna do that. I'm just gonna tell you now. Tee. So I finished my schooling testing, so I will be fully placed soon. I can't believe it. I'm actually going back to school and doing something with my life. Wow. So, my birthday just passed. I am 24. Woo! Oh, that hurts. So, yeah, I'm old. I guess I love being old. Thank you for supporting me when I was not old yet. I was 18 when I started consistently making YouTube videos. So, this is just really cool to me. And I hit my, I think, 8-year anniversary on this channel. That's pretty cool. So, thank you for listening. I love you guys.